Good afternoon from Landsford Canal State Park. I am taking an short afternoon hike. It's after work, so it's going to be getting dark soon. But I have not been to this park before. There's not a lot of trails here, but there's one that goes along the Catawba River, which is what we see out there. They have preserved some buildings here. This one has been converted to the visitor shop and visitor center and gift shop. But it's pretty cute with some rocking chairs on it. So this structure was used in the 1820 area of time. They had a canal that was in operation for just about 10 years. And so the structures that are here are from that. They have bathrooms there, and they are open, so that's always nice. But it's a small state park, but a little playground and picnic area, so definitely a cool place to check out and spend a little time. And the water sounds beautiful in the background, so I'm excited to get closer. Definitely a peaceful area out here. We have some color change in the leaves. It's fun to see how different areas change at different times, and depending on what trees are in the area, you have different colors. Pretty good mix in this spot. I have a pretty cool setup for some picnics, the grill, and right by the water. And this is part of the Carolina Thread Trail, apparently. So at this portion, the trail splits. There's a canal trail and a nature trail, and then they join back together just after that. But it looks like they are replacing a bridge on this side. This is the nature trail. So we will take the canal trail and then come back to the waterfront. So I didn't go too far south to get here. Came south on 21 though, and going towards Columbia, South Carolina. So there is definitely a little bit of change with some of the plant life. It seems a little bit more southern-like than the northern part of South Carolina, like closer to Charlotte, and definitely from out west towards Greenville in the state. So I kind of feel like I made a little trip somewhere different today, so that's pretty fun. So this shows Canal, which obviously has no water in it now. They do have some information. They had some information about the dam up there, and this tells about the guard lock, so we can see how the dam was used. So this, pretty cool. They use the stone, and you can see that here still. Tells us that it was constructed by Irish masons. So the canal was built so that there was a better way to go from Charleston, which was a port, inland and up through the state. So the reason it was only used for 10 years wasn't because of problems with it. It was just because they didn't need it anymore. Because railroads took over and were more efficient, quicker, and easier. So that bark is really cool on that tree. All shedding. A little bit of water down in the bottom of this section. So I guess it would still collect now, but not much in there. Really cool to see the location of where the canal was, though. One of the main reasons they needed the canal to transport goods was because there were rapids in the Catawba. So the river's right over there, but the rapids would obviously make it significantly more difficult to transport goods. So I love when people figure out a solution to make things work for them, and that's exactly what they did. They figured out how to funnel the water over here and have a controlled waterway to transport. There are a lot of squirrels running around these woods. It's funny that they are one of the smallest critters that you find regularly, but they're really one of the loudest. They're not shy about where they are. Deer are so much bigger, and you can easily miss them. I loved, though, when I turned onto the park road to come in here, there was a deer crossing the road. So it's a good start to an adventure here. So it looks like we're coming up to the location of one of the 4 footbridges that they had, or bridges. I don't know if it was a footbridge. Whatever went across it, I guess. But so these were the bases, and then what I read said they just had like a simple wood structure so that you could cross over. But since this area was a really important area for crossing the Catawba River, they needed the bridges to cross over the canal so that it was still accessible. They needed the river to still be accessible. So I love that the stone is still in place, even though the wood bridge is not. It allows you to kind of imagine that what it was when it was utilized in that way. There's more water here than I've seen. Not super clear. Definitely a lot of leaves sitting in there, which is going to color it. But I can't see the bottom too well. Some spots it looks like I can, but definitely deeper here. It definitely has like a jungle kind of look with the vines hanging down and plants going across and all the trees. One of my favorite things about teaching, especially math, is the kids figuring things out, figuring out what works for them. So there's usually more than one way to solve any problem, but they get to figure out which method is most efficient and effective for them. Some of them prefer to draw pictures, and some will want to do the equation. So it's neat to see. They all have their own brains. They're all operating a little bit differently, and so you can help them discover and what they want to use, and then that's going to help them become lifelong learners. So I get real excited when they have any excitement or even grasp of the things that we're doing in class. I had one of my classes today, many of them were confused when it came to adding and subtracting negative numbers, especially if they had fractions. So we spent a good bit of time today working through that. There's definitely some rapids. I can see why they wanted to avoid this section. Lots of rocks for that water to roll over. And there was one kid at the first day of us doing this unit, this topic. He was very, very confused and very frustrated. For actually 2 days, we encountered that problem. And he's a very emotional child, so it didn't go very well. So today, when he was so excited and he was recognizing, oh, I was doing it wrong, and I totally understand it now. This is the first day that I get it, and it makes sense. That was thrilling for me, because that's my goal, for them to be able to figure things out and give them the opportunities to learn. I had met back up with the nature trail, and nature trail is shorter than the canal trail, so figured I'd enjoy the time on it while I was on an open section. And they have a very cool observation deck out here. It's beautiful out there. Wow. It's awesome. So much plant life is growing in those rocks out there. This area is known for spider lilies. So that's what those are, and they bloom in the late spring into the summer. So I'm thinking I will need to make another trip to the park to check those out, because I think that would be gorgeous with all the water and rocks and the green from the plants and the flowers. So I am excited to see this. This is a culvert. When we were at the Canal, Caleb had read about how the culverts would allow streams to go under the canal, essentially, so it didn't disrupt the stream flow and the ecology of that. So they had the structure with the walls that would continue the flow of it, and so it would follow in its same stream under the water that was flowing for the canal. So we were impressed that even that long ago, they were concerned about taking care of nature. So they had the walls that would direct where the water goes, so it has that clear stream going through and then coming out on the other side. So on both sides, same thing. Of course, not all of the walls are still standing, but portions. So I just passed where the mill complex was. They had a mill that would grind grain and cut lumber. And they had control of how much water there was coming around and protected the mill. But this is part of the little canal section that the boats would actually go through. And it's pretty neat to be able to walk through it. So the structure of the mill is gone. There was just some of the stone wall that you're able to see, but really neat how they utilized the resources they had to get work done and protect everything and control the water level everywhere. I like that the terrain of this trail is a little bit different. And as we go through, there was the part that we were on that was the nature trail was definitely more groomed. It had more like a gravel type structure to it. And then there's been wider dirt and more narrow dirt paths. So quite a bit of variety, which is surprising when it's not even a very long hike. So it looks like we're coming up to the lock system that they had to raise the boats up. Obviously it's much lower down there. It has to get up significantly higher, so it looks like they had 2 steps up to get up to this height that the majority of the canal was at. It's a pretty beautiful arch down there over the canal. To walk over the arch, check it out. That's really cool. So they maintained access over to the river because it was a really important crossing point throughout history. The Native Americans used it. I think it was Cherokee and Catawba were in the area, and they would use it to cross the river. Maybe this tells us that. Great Indian Warrior Trading Path. The Great Philadelphia Wagon Road. Okay, so it linked the Great Lakes to Augusta, Georgia. So the Native Americans used it, and then it was also heavily used during the Revolutionary War because they needed to cross the river to continue northward or southward, whatever they were doing. And both sides apparently used it, which makes sense. So this is the other side of those locks. It definitely is a lot lower. And this is the end of the trail. Apparently the lowest section of the canal got washed out from all the flooding. Not that it happens all the time, but it happens. So it didn't hold up. But throughout the whole thing, apparently when they cleared it, the land for the canal, and dug it out, they were again being really mindful of what would be most effective and efficient. So they actually followed the contour of the land rather than just creating a straight canal going up the land. And so that meant they had to remove less dirt or trees, because they had to do all that manually or with a horse. So they were figuring out the best way to make it work for them. So that's really cool, and apparently archaeologists have studied the area on the upper section of the canal, and they still are able to find the presence of the clay layer that was laid down when they were building the canal after they had cleared it. They had used the clay because it was a little more resistant to the weathering and wearing, and more almost like water resistant, and so it held in place. So I'm impressed by how well it held further up. So it's cool we get to sneak a peek of the history here. I'm definitely enjoying it. It's feeling like fall out here, and the sun is going down earlier every day. I'm glad it worked out to get a little bit of a hike in today. This was the perfect length for the amount of time I had. So I hope you're having a fantastic day. Breathe some fresh air, and I'll see you next time on the trail with Heart.